I just got a hysterectomy. I don't think I told you
Mm-mm.
that. But so I'm sitting up on a pillow and my green screen is behind me. But so yeah, I'm recovering from surgery and everything,
Mhm.
besides the face issue with my eye pulling or whatever.
Sounds like a real opportunity for healing for you.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. So that's just gonna say, like, your book and everything, and meeting you, this all came at the right time because of,
Beautiful.
yeah, the situation I'm going through. And
It's good.
yeah, I found your book very, very well written. You're straight to the point, which I love that. Because some people, sometimes you read books and they, don't get straight to the point. You offer, so you say what the problem is, offer solutions,
Mhm.
have tips throughout, and I just love that. It's very
Thank
helpful, and
you.
not just like a one-time thing. I feel like it's something that I can go back and read it throughout my life because there's always
There's
issues.
always layers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
always.
there's sure the joy of being human. We always get that opportunity to do further work on ourselves. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, so it's more like a resource, I feel like. And just to introduce you, I just started recording without introducing you. But well, I'll introduce myself. My name is Angel, and this is Mindfulness and Inspiration with a Dose of Shenanigans. And I have a special guest. Her name is Jenny Mannion. Did I say that correctly?
You
Mannion?
sure did.
Okay,
Good
good.
job.
Thank you. She is an international best-selling author, speaker, highly sought after, intuitive self-love activator, and media personality. She went through several years of debilitating chronic illnesses, and in 3 weeks, she healed herself. And she has a passion to help others do the same. So, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, I'm so grateful to be here, Angel. Thank you for having
Oh,
me.
no problem. I'm glad to have you. So, your book, we were talking about in the beginning, is called A Short Path to Change, 30 Ways to Transform Your Life. I'll start here about your pain. So, you experienced 7 years of pain. And I think when you go through pain, you don't, unless you've gone through it, you don't understand what it does to you psychologically. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it is. The word debilitating is correct. It is really hard to get outside that pain. It is distracting. It is all consuming. And that is the challenge because if we're focusing on the pain and how much it hurts, really not going to get any better. But it is really challenging not to because it will grab you. My legs would sometimes seize up and I couldn't walk. Like I'd crawl down the stairs or like sit slide, down the stairs. Like from being a dancer to that, it's very noticeable. And how am I going to concentrate anywhere else? And it can become very when we're ill and when we experience pain, we usually don't speak nicely to ourselves either. What's wrong with me? Why am I sick? Why am I going through this? Why do my legs hurt so bad? And the negative talk just keeps going. And it is really challenging to pull ourselves out of that and to focus on other things because honestly, our energy flows where our attention goes. So if we are focused on the pain, just think of it, it's like it can't do anything else but like tense up those muscles. Whereas if we're I would focus on my hand, one of the only things that didn't hurt, and be like, I'm so grateful my hand feels so good, and focus on that. And it would allow the legs to relax a little bit because I was focused on a part of my body that felt good. But we're not taught these things. We kind of have to teach ourselves or learn them the hard way. That was the 7 years of pain of waking up in pain, not sleeping because of pain. So then the pain sleep cycle continues. You don't sleep, your body can't repair itself, so you're waking up in more pain. And where our focus is just so important. And it is really important too. So if a part of our body is hurting, it's not in balance. There is an irregularity there. But again, usually we're focused. I mean, I was a dancer. I was like, why are my legs in pain? And, why are my legs failing me? And all these negative thoughts rather than You know, now if a client came to me that had trouble with their legs, I'd be like, put your hands on your legs and send them love. Like, think about the times that your legs did serve you. Think about all the good things that they've allowed you to do. You know, really sending love is that opportunity for healing. Whereas if we're sending those negative thoughts, it's really not allowing for that healing energy to come in.
Yeah, I understand that. I love that. But what brought you to that point though, from the pain to healing yourself? Like what happened?
There were a few things. One was I had met a girlfriend that didn't know me. I had lost a lot of friends when I got sick. You know, I wasn't fun Jenny anymore. I wasn't, you know, didn't want to go out, couldn't go out. And I met a woman, actually it was St. Patrick's Day, and we really connected. We had sons about the same age, and I had really not agreed to painkillers for my whole, I was really worried that if I started taking painkillers in my mid 30s, where was I going to be later on? I was very, very fearful of addiction. But when I met her, I was like, you know what? I'm going to take like one painkiller instead of two, or half a painkiller, and just to be able to go for a walk with her. And I started feeling a little more like me, because when we become a wife or a mom, you know, or whatever other role we take, you know, teacher, whatever other job we take, we kind of lose ourselves. So I think I had really lost who I was. And going for those walks allowed me to remember, one, what it was like to not be in pain anymore. Thank you for those painkillers for even allowing me that remembrance of what it felt like to be without pain. But plus I was, you know, walking, something I always loved to do, and with a girlfriend. You know, women are magical. You know, a good girlfriend that you could laugh and talk to, I mean, that was magical. And I think that friendship, and her name was Angela, so also an angel like you know, I really do feel like she came into my life at that time, you know, for, you know, to allow that opening. And then another friend of mine had suggested watching the movie The Secret. And when I watched that, something just shifted in me, like, hey, where am I putting my attention? I'm putting all my attention on how sick I am. I'm not, and I was a graduate from Penn State in psychology. Like, I feel like part of me should have known better, you know, but at the same time, we trust the doctors. We trust the diagnosis. We relate to our pain. We become our pain. We become those diagnoses. Thanks to the internet, we're looking up every symptom and every bad way that things can turn out for us. So the movie The Secret just opened me up to, you know what if I just for a couple of weeks say no more doctors. Nothing was critical at that time. It was just more tests and more medicines that were suggesting. What if I don't do that? And what if I focus on sending myself good messages? What if I focus on what I'm telling myself? Because I was always telling myself how much pain I was in. I'm not a good enough daughter. I'm not showing up for things. I'm not a good enough friend. I'm not a good enough mother. I'm not a good enough wife. You know, all of those things weren't helpful to my healing. So instead, why don't I listen to Wayne Dyer or read Deepak Chopra, or, you know, pick up a Caroline Myss book? Like, I picked up all these inspirational mind body teachers, and they offered me tools that really allowed me to look at things differently and look at my self-talk. And it was not good. You know, it was really, really it was debilitating. I mean, the way I was speaking to myself, there was no way I could have healed. No way. So to shift that perspective, I mean, when we change our thoughts create our energy. They play a big part in our energy. So when we change our thoughts and change our energy, it allows that energy to work to create those different cells.
In your book, you have it in different sections. You give a lot of tips about how to overcome the negative mindset. A lot of things that people can do. Can you talk about, well, a few of them, if anyone's going through pain, like what tips do you have? Like, I like the rubber band method.
Yeah, yeah. My arm was really sore with that one, but yeah, put a rubber band on and stop yourself. I mean, I would say stop yourself if you do catch yourself saying something negative about yourself, but also maybe even set a timer on your clock for like every hour and just ask yourself in that hour, what was I just thinking? And was it something negative or positive? If it was negative, snap the rubber band, make yourself aware of how many times you're thinking negative thoughts, because the average person has over 60,000 thoughts a day, 80% are negative. We have a lot of wiggle room there to bring that even to 50-50. We're going to feel a huge life shift because we're putting out more positive energy. And we are programmed this way. It's not anyone's fault. It really is anyone that watches the news. I mean, I did grow up when I was little watching the news. First story is the most horrific story. We're kind of programmed that way to go to the negative, and it's disempowering. If we were talking to an animal or a child like that, we would know they'd be like huddled in the corner and, very disempowered, but yet we continue to speak to ourselves like that. So it really is, I love the rubber band technique. Gratitude is huge. We focus on the negative. We find it almost, I don't know, like not nice to be like, when someone asks, how are you doing? I'm fantastic. Usually it's, oh, well, blah, 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 and we start on what's wrong. But really owning that, giving ourselves permission to be like, I'm really good. I've been doing this for myself and this is going really well. It kind of gives that other person too permission to bask in that happiness. Another thing too is to focus on something good in your life. We focus on the negative. Bring to mind a happy moment. Bring to mind something that brings you joy. Allow yourself to experience joy, whether that's putting on a silly video, or a song that you love and singing, or dancing, whatever it is that's going to inspire you a little bit to take the focus off of where your mind has been.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Just finding different distractions.
Yeah.
So while going through, so after the 7 years, and then you started doing some of these, the rubber band method and other things. So, and within the 3 weeks, did you like experience pain, or like it slowly just
It
digressed?
slowly went away.
Okay.
Yeah. It slowly went away to the point where, after 3 weeks, I didn't need any pain pills anymore. And the pain was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, for years after that, I don't think I even got like a cold or anything. And I was really focused on, it helped that I was like blogging about mind, body, health all the time. What you focus on expands. So I was focusing on all these different tools and ways to keep healthy.
I like that. So what are some ways, you talk about being mindful also, what are some ways that people can learn to be more mindful of emotional and physical influences? And you mentioned the news, maybe not watching the news.
Yeah, I mean, start paying attention to the triggers. Like if you're feeling badly, what made me feel badly? Was I around a friend that is just always telling me how bad they feel? Was I in a certain room in my house that is cluttered with stuff and I just can't bring myself to clean it? Clutter really does contribute too to us not feeling good because there's nowhere for energy to move. So, and some people can get very overwhelmed because clutter can do that, but cleaning out one drawer, cleaning out one little top of a surface can really help free up some of that energy and also make us feel like we've accomplished something. And especially when we're sick, we can feel like, oh, I can't get anything done, but 5 minutes to empty a drawer, like you could do that and you'll feel good for it. So giving yourself these little things to do that feel good just helps build that self-worth. Because when we're sick too, we can become very hard on ourselves and that self-worth dwindles. We feel very disempowered.
Okay,
And
so, oh, go ahead.
yeah, and being mindful is in any moment, you can be mindful. What are you thinking when you're doing laundry? Are you grumbling to yourself? Or are you like, well, I'm glad I have a washer and dryer in my house. Thank goodness I could do this in 10 minutes and I'm done, Or are you singing your favorite song in your head? When you're washing dishes, are you playing music that you love? Or are you grumbling about doing the dishes? Like really, when you're brushing your teeth, are you mindful? Are you going through your to-do list? The shower is such a beautiful healing time. Are you going through your to-do lists? Are you making up stories in your head or conversations you're going to have in your head? Do you remember if you even washed your hair or not? Are you mindful at all? Or can you bring yourself to that current moment and be like, wow, water's healing. This is beautiful. I'm getting washed clean. Pay attention to the water on your body. Set some positive affirmations for the day. I'm going to invite in something magical today. I'm going to do something for myself today. I'm going to reach out to a friend that brings me joy. I'm going to go for that walk. I'm going to do something that really nurtures me today, or even asking that question in the shower, how can I nurture myself today? But anytime we bring ourselves to the current moment and stop that endless babble going on in our head, it is a moment that we can empower ourselves.
Okay. I was gonna ask you, like, in times of crisis, what can we do? Because there's always, like we were talking about, there's always things to come up, but
Yeah.
those are some good tips. Do you have any other tips? Because, like you were saying, sometimes people are going through things and they complain, and you need to change your mindset. But
Mhm.
how do you deal with the issue, but also change your mindset?
So when we're in a fear or worry situation, we are fearful or worried because we love something or someone. If we're fearful for our health, it's because we love ourselves and we want ourselves to be happy, and healthy. So really kind of flipping it, like letting ourselves worry for a little bit. I love this author, Richard Dotts, came up with like the 5-minute worry method. Set a clock, worry, go to worst case scenario for 5 minutes, and then be like, you know what? The rest of the day, I worried about that today. It is not going to do me any good to stay there anymore. I worried about that today. Where can I put my mind that's more positive? I have my clients write a list of 10 things that they love to do, whether it's getting themselves a cup of tea, reading a book, calling a friend that makes them happy, putting on a funny show, like sitting in nature, these things that bring you joy. If you have that list of 10 things, you have a go-to list, because even as adults, we can become like little toddlers or teenagers, like arms crossed. No, I don't feel like doing that. So really, like, this list allows us to be like, you know what? I don't feel like meditating, but I can go for a walk. I don't feel like a bath, but I can make myself a cup of tea, so we'll have that list of 10 things to go to, but really trying to curb the worry, because the worry and fear is only going to lead you further to disempowerment. It's okay to go there. It's an emotion. We're not meant to stop emotions. We're meant to process them. But what happens is a lot of people don't process them. They just become engulfed in them. They go down the rabbit hole with them, and they don't allow themselves that permission to allow anything else in, allow any other possibility in. Another thing is because we usually go to worst case scenario, we're going for a doctor's test. So we're imagining, oh, it could be this, it could be this. Well, why not go to the positive? Why not say, what if it's nothing and they made a mistake? What if, they tell me I'm in perfect health? So really allowing in those other possibilities as well.
I like that. It seems like a daily process, though, because it's hard to change that
Yeah.
mindset.
Yeah, and you know what? Some days you're going to be like, I don't wanna. I feel like I'm going to be in a bad mood today. And you know what? Giving yourself that permission to. We're human. We
Mhm.
are not meant to be like living on in some la la land all the time. We're dealing with reality. We're dealing with a very changing world where there are hardships, where there are things that are going to bring us to different emotions, and that's okay. But knowing that our primary state of mind is up to us, and we can decide whether we're going to be depressed most of the time. I'm not talking about like clinical depression. I'm talking about, we can focus on everything that's wrong, or we can focus on what is right in our life and change that energy up and allow for more goodness in. Because if we're focused on what's bad, we're really not allowing anything else in. And it is about experiencing that joy. What brings you joy? Asking yourself that. Maybe it's something you haven't done since you were a kid. Maybe you love to jump rope. Maybe you love to do something, maybe you love to doodle, giving yourself that permission. I love that adult coloring books came out, giving ourselves that permission to be childlike and not take ourselves so seriously. We take ourselves so seriously and are so judgmental and so critical of ourselves. And that doesn't do us any favors. It just disempowers us.
But wouldn't it be so much easier if we were all taught that when we were younger? Because you mentioned that in your book, that we're not
Yeah.
taught self love, we're not taught those type of things when we're younger.
Yeah, yeah, it sure would be, and I do hear about meditation being taught and mindfulness being taught in some schools, and I think that's wonderful. And during this last year, when my kids were home from school, they had Wellness Wednesdays. They gave them off Wednesdays, and they were like, I was shocked. They said, do something physical, meditate, do something you love on that day. Like, I love that idea. So I think that things are changing, but change in that global sense usually takes a little bit of time. And it really is up to us to teach ourselves so that we continue that forward. And we are the inspiration for the teachers to ask to bring that into classrooms, or for us to bring that to our children. It's going to, it might take a little while, but I do feel like it's coming.
Yeah, I like that idea of the Wednesday, taking the day off to do something. I like that because it gives them a break from all the tests and all that
Yeah.
going on. That's a good idea. In your book, you wrote, when you get in touch with what brings you to life, you touch your soul. I love that. As mothers or wives or whatever role that we have, we get caught up in the different job titles. Can you talk about some of the ways we can seek our higher self and not get caught up in our roles?
Yeah, I think that for me, like having that female friend was a reflection. Who am I? That remembrance of who is that reflection, who it's reflected back to you, because it's hard. Kids, not always grateful, spouses, we get in our routines. It really is about us remembering who we are and to touch the things that bring us joy. We loved drawing before, but we haven't had the time to do it. Give yourself 5 minutes to do it. Like, we get in our head too. Like, I know when I was writing my book, I was so in my head, oh, I need an hour of quiet to sit down. And there was no hour of quiet. Like, it took me hearing from another author. No, I wrote. If I was in a doctor's office waiting, I wrote for 10 minutes. You make that time for yourself when you can grab it, because it is precious and it is important. And you're the only one that can give yourselves that permission, or you can give yourself the excuses.
Mm.
And as I mentioned before, the shower, everyone has the shower. If you drive somewhere, commute somewhere, what are you thinking in your head during that time? How can you give yourself 5 minutes, get up 5 minutes earlier, stay up a little 5 minutes later, or take that time 5 minutes before bed, and really just tune into yourself. Ask yourself how the day was. Give yourself something that you did that day that you were grateful for, something that happened that day that you're grateful for. Give yourself something that you're looking forward to the next day. It really is about this ongoing conversation that we have with ourselves that we're usually not even conscious of. you know, Half the time it's just running and we're not even really hearing it. But the beautiful thing is that is like static, because it's just like blah, 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 But if we focus our intention, if we stop and like set the dial to where we want instead of focused intention, it's so much stronger. It's so much more powerful than that babble in the background. So it really is up to us to say, you know what? I'm going to do something good for myself today. What did I used to like doing before I got into all these roles? Who am I? And that's how I felt like when I got sick. I didn't know who Jenny was anymore. I was mom, I was wife, I was daughter. And I felt like I was failing at all those things too. Because what happens with the roles is we start judging ourselves. And mom is like the toughest role to judge ourselves on, because there's no perfect mom. We're learning as we go, and I had a wonderful, wonderful mom. I was so blessed. But every mom is learning as they go. And in relationships, we're learning as we go. We're human. So really getting to who we are at soul level, it gets beyond that. It gets to that unconditional love. Our soul knows we're perfect and we're learning along the way, and there's no judgment. It's our brain that judges us.
Yeah.
You should have done better. You could have done better. Shoulda, coulda, wouldas don't come from your soul. That comes from your mind.
Yeah. I like that. It does. It's true. So let me ask you, rereading your book, what did you learn about yourself? Or either through the process or either rereading it, what did you learn about yourself?
That it's layers. That really is layers. I mean, we do this healing work and we might think, oh, oh, got that. Yeah, right. Like it might come up again. And it's about being kind to yourself in the process of it coming up again. If something's coming up a few times, it means it's pretty deeply ingrained. It means it probably was a deep trauma or hurt. And loving ourselves through the self-sabotage, forgiving ourselves, being able to know that change is uncomfortable and we can really be comfortable as uncomfortable as we are. We can tell ourselves it's too scary to leave that comfort zone. So really just to keep on challenging myself, to keep on doing this work. I know I'm never going to be like at a place where like I'm arrived and I know everything, no, be wary of the person that says that, the guru supposedly, because we're always working on ourselves and there's always more opportunities. Every relationship is a different relationship and an opportunity to learn about ourselves. Every interaction with anyone in stores, customer service representative, how are you talking to those people? It's always an opportunity to learn about ourselves and to be easy on ourselves and know, what, take from that, take a lesson from that. And you know what, maybe next time I'll do this a little differently, but not beat ourselves up about it because life is about learning.
Yeah. Yeah, be gentle. I like that.
That's a hard one.
Yeah, it is. It's really hard. Yeah. It's a process. Just like, changing your mindset. It's just,
Yeah.
it's a long process. Um, I was going to ask you another question and I just forgot. I just thought of it when you were talking, but I forgot. So
That's all
it'll
right.
probably come back to
Yeah.
me. But in your book, you also discuss the chakras. And can you talk about that that's what I was going to ask you. Healing. Can you talk about your work as a coach? And then do you do like any chakra healing meditation and things like that?
Yeah, I do. So I do healing on the mind, body, spirit level. I do believe that our mind is really important and the self-love work is really important. Healing our past traumas and forgiveness is very important. I do work with energy. I've probably taken over 15 to 20 different energy healing modalities, as well as part of them including Akashic record reading and shamanism. So I am really a big believer in the energy body. Eastern medicine is based on the chakras. For those not familiar, there are 7 major chakras in our body. There are hundreds throughout and around our body, but there are 7 major ones in our body. Each one corresponds to a different emotional and physical aspect. I can go through them real fast. Like the root one is red. It's at the base of the spine, and it's about that's the first chakra. That's really about how we come into this planet, our parents, their limiting messages. Have you grown up thinking money is bad, divorce is bad, those kind of messages from our parents, from our community, from the news, from, those core beliefs are our root chakra. And it kind of makes sense that if that chakra is not in balance, we can have trouble with our legs and feet. It's almost like we have trouble walking on this planet. It feels hard and heavy walking on this planet. The second chakra is the sacral chakra, and it is around the belly button, and that deals with, it's a second and it's orange, and that deals with how we create as men and women, how we see ourselves as men and women, how we create our emotions, our sexual relationships, how we create abundance. And if that's out of balance, we can have trouble with our sexual organs, with fertility. I mean, it just, again, these kind of make sense when you hear them. They're like, oh, that does make sense. So it's really not that abstract. And there's all these things you can do there's yoga poses to bring these into balance. There's foods to eat to bring these into balance. If you wear something the color of that chakra, it helps bring it into balance. Next one is yellow, the solar plexus, and that is right between our stomach and our chest at the solar plexus. That's our power center. You can think of it as like that gut reaction, or if you're feeling out of control or you need too much control. And if we're having issues here, we have issues with digestion. makes sense. We can't, things are hard to swallow. Things are hard to digest, and really bringing into balance that power struggle. Next is the heart. It's green or gold. They're the colors of the rainbow actually going up. So Roy G. Biv going up, colors of rainbow, green or gold. It connects the lower chakras, which are more earthly chakras, to the higher chakras, which are more heavenly soul connected chakras. And it's about divine love. Do you love yourself? Your relationships reflect that. It's about relationships. How are you in relationships? Is your heart too open, as most moms are? Do you give too much? Is that your go-to? Or are you closed off and you're not allowing people in? So that is one that I do find challenged in women a lot, as well as the next one, the throat chakra. So it's at the throat, it's blue. Have you been shut down from speaking your truth? Do you talk too much? You know, that one, if that's not in, so the heart, if that's not in balance, you can have trouble with your lungs or breasts. Throat, if it's not in balance, you can have throat issues, thyroid issues. The next one's sixth chakra. I guess that's kind of the most popular, because like some Eastern religions will actually wear something here that really harnesses that energy, because it is our intuition. I look at it as how we see the outside world and how we see the inside of us, the truth of that. Are we being authentic? Are we listening to our intuition? If that's not in balance, we can get headaches. Things can, with our ears can be out of balance. That can be actually the throat or the sixth chakra. And the seventh is the crown right here. So this is blue, this is indigo, this is violet or white. Some people see it as white. And that's our connection to everything. So there are foods to balance each chakra, but at the seventh chakra, it's really about presence. Are you present when you're eating? Are you shoving food in like most of us do? Or are you like, wow, I'm really grateful. Oh, this tastes really good. Are you paying attention? You paying attention when you're out in nature to your connection to everything? So yes, I do chakra balancing sessions. Some of the shamanic work I do balances chakras through an issue. So say someone has an issue with a relationship, we'll go through the chakras and balance each chakra in relation to that relationship. I do Akashic record work, which is more looking at the soul and someone's soul's gifts. And again, asking for those blocks and restrictions to be removed so they're comfortable stepping into those soul gifts. So I usually do like a half an hour of talking. So that's the mind stuff. And then a half an hour of energy work, which can be either lay down and receive, and I'll talk you through a little energy session, or it can be an Akashic session as well. So I really do like combining all the things I've learned and just kind of asking that person in my time, talking with them that first half hour, being like, what do you feel like you need? Do you want to lay down and receive right now? And sometimes we'll figure that out together. And sometimes they just have a strong pull for what they need in that moment.
I like that. Can you talk about, you said for the heart chakra, you said a lot of women have a blockage at the heart. What kind of, how do you heal that?
Self-love is a big one. Really knowing your self-worth, setting healthy boundaries in relationships, not settling. A lot of women will settle for not being treated right, whether that's from the person they're in relationship with, to a boss that's over controlling, to friends that gossip and, don't really speak in empowering ways. So really checking in with yourself. Are your relationships reflecting your self-love? Are you doing things, body, mind, and spirit, that show that you love yourself?
I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
You're
Can you talk
welcome.
about your work as a shaman? Do you believe in, is it more like a psychedelic type of shaman?
I don't do any like psychedelics as I'm doing that work, but it is really about connecting with other energies, really honoring the earth. I will work with some of my crystals. I will drum, rattle, get really into that. I ask myself to really be a hollow bone. That is how shaman call it. Really be that hollow bone so that any information can come into me so that I can offer it to my client. Any healing might be able to come through me to offer it to my client. I invite in ancestors, any spirit of light, you know, that wants to join in that energy of helping that person. I will get, you know, a grandmother that comes in that wants to be witness to that healing session, that has a message for a person that they need to hear at that time. I mean, so many people just feel very alone and isolated. And I do feel like the shamanic sessions help you feel reconnected, help you feel love. I mean, that's really what it's all about, you know, really feeling that deep, unconditional love that we block ourselves from a lot.
Do you do group meetings or is it more one-on-one?
I do one-on-one meetings, but I'm moving to more group I have done group meetings as well. And the newest thing that I've launched is Love 365, which is a community and is you receive a little note from me on a specific area of love, an exercise and affirmation every day, as well as an online community. And starting in September, every month, I will offer a group healing experience.
Oh, I love that. So you said Love 365?
Yeah, Love 365. If you go to my website, it is, yeah, it is shown on
Okay.
there.
I love that. And so for your meditation, you do meditations too. So is this something that you post on your website or do you do like personal meditations according to someone's issue?
I do have, like, if you go to my YouTube site, I have meditations there. I do love leading people in little guided meditations. Shamanism, it's definitely more like a guided journey. I also do guided journeys through the Akashic Records so people can get in touch with knowing how to go to their own Akashic Records and keep that tool for themselves to gain further guidance. I am really about, I don't want anyone dependent on me. I like to offer people tools so they can feel empowered. And that's why Love 365, I'm going to be offering 365 tools. Take what sticks, don't go back to what doesn't. But really, like, I feel like knowing, hearing so many tools, some are going to stick. And maybe some that don't stick, maybe that's some that meet a resistance you need to revisit because sometimes there's a little, there's a reason why. But you'll take some tools forward and we all need that community too, which I love because it's an app on your phone and you can also join the online community and really help support other people because I do love the group experience. I co-facilitated a women's group for 8 years and then another one for a year. I really do love that group experience. It helps. I love the one-on-one sessions too, but they're very different. You know, the one-on-one's more the intimacy, but in the group experience, especially with like women, you know, hey, oh, you've been through that too, you know, and you really help each other like more than I can because you have 10, if you have 10 people in the group, guess what? That's 10 people's experiences. And maybe I haven't had that experience, but someone else has. And it is really, really powerful to show up for one another too and not feel alone and isolated.
I agree. And I think sharing your story, like how you're honest about how you felt with your pain and everything, that helps others. You know, it's really inspiring and it helps to, you know, others to know that, you know, someone else has gone through it and she's fine.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. And it everyone has those stories to tell. Everyone's overcome things, you know, and someone else might have overcome, you know, an abusive relationship. Someone else might have overcome a work situation that they never could have imagined themselves out of, or switching a career. Like everyone has something to offer, or difficult. We all have mom stories. Ever someone's overcome something different from that. I mean, we all have stories to share and ways to learn from each other.
Yes, I agree. Can you talk about what Akashic, you said Akashic, is that how you pronounce it?
Hmm.
What is that?
So the Akashic Records are the records of, so you can look at it almost like a big library of everyone's soul throughout time. And that means from properties have Akashic Records as well as, so your record would include your soul gifts, your incarnations throughout time, your relationships with other people. We tend to come back with other people as much as, especially if those people are triggering, we've probably been around with them before. And the people that evoke real love, when you meet someone, you're like, oh my God, I feel like I've known you forever. You probably have, you know, you probably have had that soul connection. So what the Akashic Records do, I mean, I never say that there's one healing for everyone. It is really, I love that there's hundreds of different healing modalities because it is what resonates with you. When I got my Akashic reading done, I didn't know anything about it, but the reading that came back resonated so deeply. It said I would be a healer. I was like, oh, well, I studied psychology, whatever. But soon after that, energy healing came right to me. Like, I couldn't deny it after that. It tells you your soul gifts. It tells you some of the blockages. One of the things mine told me was, which I was like, no, I never did that. They're like, oh, you cursed a doctor when you were in your 20s. I was like, I would never do that. Like, I never curse anyone. Like, I'm love. And I remembered that I had started a new job and I'd only taken an hour for lunch and I had OBGYN appointment, went in. They said it was going to be a wait. I remember calling my job being like, it's late, it's going to be a while. After 2 hours, so I hadn't eaten lunch, 2 hours, I was shown into a cold room, given one of those little, little thin robes, they call them. And, the woman that came in wasn't my doctor. My doctor was called away and she kind of manhandled me, giving me a breast exam. I was like, you have a lump that needs to be looked at immediately. That doesn't look good. Like, with all of that love and compassion in her voice. And I remember leaving there like totally, I'm tearful. I didn't eat. I'm worried about losing my new job. I'm so emotional, and being like, I'm sure I had a lot of emotion, being like, I hope she recognizes what she did to me and doesn't talk to anyone like that or feels my pain. And that was a curse. Like, so energetically, we send these things to people. And if she didn't feel a little guilty, she wouldn't have accepted that. But she must have seen me hysterical and probably did feel a little guilty, but she was probably overworked, whatever. We all have our days, that's for sure. But in that Akashic clearing, you can ask for that to be cleared. So the energy of that is not with you anymore. So when that came up and I remembered that, I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like, I must have just buried that deep within me. But I look for past lives too, where things like that have happened, where circumstances have happened. The energy is there. So we tend to repeat the pattern because the energy signature is there. And I say it's a quick, not so gentle shove along your spiritual path, because with the blocks removed, I also give a 21-day prayer for my client to say. It really is the prayer that is the magical piece. I can have my guides and their guides do the clearing work, and sometimes the magic happens there. That can be physical or emotional healing that happens. But I think that 21-day prayer, where someone is saying, yes, I'm ready for these to be removed. Yes, I'm ready to move forward on the next step of my life, is really where the magic happens.
How long is that process before like the 21-day prayer? And I like that, the prayer after, because it helps to maintain.
Yeah. I mean, I usually say to give me a week turnaround to do the reading. What I do is I get the person's birth name now, place of birth and date of birth. And that is my permission slip to go into their records. So I will go in kind of a meditative state, get all the information, do a clearing, and then discuss the reading with them. So I'll send a typed report, can be 6 to like 15 pages, depending on what we're talking about. And then we talk about it and then hand off the healing, the prayer to them to do. And I have seen physical healing with that. I had one client who he had challenging ex-wife and had sciatica pain. So anytime he walked, he really felt a lot of pain in his leg, could barely walk for more than a block, and went to every doctor and chiropractor and everything, and it really wouldn't go away. And I joked, I was like, it's probably your ex-wife is a pain in your butt, that's remaining. And when we did the Akashic reading, actually, that was honestly what we found, like a pain in the lower chakra. And when that was removed, no sciatica pain, walking miles. So sometimes it's just an energetic block. And like I said, I don't feel like there's one healing for everything, but I feel like there are different, if you resonate with it, it's probably something to try.
Now, did you ever talk to the doctor after your pain was gone? Did you tell them like what happened?
It was funny because, I mean, I live in a college town. It's not a huge community. And I remember running into my doctor and I felt great and was, I mean, I was in there sometimes 2, 3 times a week. So he got to know me very well. And I remember him looking at me and being like, we haven't seen you. What happened? And I was like, oh, I healed myself. I'm all better now. He's like, what? Like amazed. But then the other doctor that I saw that would give me, so when I was sick, I went to a doctor that was very much a pill pusher. And I did not like that idea of being on a lot of pills because I was in my mid 30s. I'm like, what am I going to be like in my 50s if in my 30s I'm taking all these medications? So I resisted a lot, but when I healed, it was very interesting because I went back to the doctor. It took me a while to go back to the doctor. And when I did, that doctor had been replaced by an Eastern doctor. She's an Indian woman. And her first words to me were, I don't prescribe pills easily. Do you meditate? So I was like, that's a manifestation. That is my energy now that attracted that to me. And yeah, I mean, there are always doctors that have a more holistic view. And I always like to say that too. If you have a doctor that you feel is not listening to you, not hearing you, not open to other alternative forms of healing, probably time to get a new doctor. Only you can make that choice. And there's lots of beautiful, wonderful, gifted doctors around.
Well, I find that it's hard to find a holistic doctor because when I go, like even if I take my children to the doctor, or if I go myself, I always ask for a natural remedy first.
Mm-hmm.
But most of them will say, I don't know. And they don't, I'll say, for instance, for my children, elderberry. And his doctor's like, I don't know anything about elderberry. And she's like, can you tell me about it? So I'm telling her about like natural herbs and stuff. And it's like, you're a doctor, shouldn't you know? But it's like they're taught to only, give medicine, these drugs that these companies produce that gets people addicted sometimes. And it's an unfortunate situation with the medicine.
It is. And I think that there are doctors more open.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my best friends is an herbalist and a nurse, and she loves to inform doctors too of different possibilities. And yeah, I mean, maybe looking for an herbalist or someone around you that can offer some of that advice, or even going on a local medical board, an herbalism, like a certified one, that you can find out information. I mean, lucky for us, we do have the internet at our fingertips and we can find out information. And I mean, I do find herbalists and more alternative teachers very open to offering advice, offering help. I do always feel like there is probably, if you can't afford something, there is probably something online that you can find where someone can reach out, will be happy to help you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just wish it was more like they would integrate like the natural remedies with the prescription medicine, because I mean we've come a long way over the years. They've helped us to expand our lifespan and everything, but I just feel like there are some natural things that work, because when my son was taking elderberry, like he didn't get sick. Well, none of us got sick at all, and then when we stopped taking it, then we got sick. So yeah, I just wish they would integrate it, because then, I mean, as like your story, like we would heal, if they integrate.
Yeah, but Angel, that's a whole nother topic we could do. I mean, it's really a sickness industry, not a wellness industry. And I'm not saying all doctors are like that, but I remember going to a naturopath and him showing me, he took out a big book, like a binder, like this thick. And he's like, this is what I got this month. This used to be all natural. This used to be all articles on different research and healing. He's like, now it is all incentives from drug companies.
Mm-hmm.
So it really is up to the doctor to decide, what, I do want to learn a little more about this. And sometimes it takes, a patient like you to come in and to open their eyes and ears to be willing to hear it. It's just they spend enough time in medical school, they're not looking up anything else, but, bringing it to their attention, might not be a bad thing to do. And I have heard recently, the last couple of years, of a lot more doctors saying, you know what, prayer helps. Positive intention helps, more of that.
Say that?
Yeah.
I've never heard a doctor say that.
And it was something that I had prayed for. And when my mom got sick, all of her doctors said that.
Mm.
You can heal. Like my mom didn't, she was ready. She was ready to go, you know, and I know that very deeply. But they're like prayer. I've seen prayer. Almost every doctor said I've seen prayer or I've seen positive intention. I've seen stage 4 cancer reverse. So, and that was my dream of like hearing a doctor say that at some point. So it was very affirming to have that. No one called it a death sentence. And I think that's really important because I have worked with a lot of late stage cancer clients where they get a death sentence. I worked with a mom, young mom, who was given a week to live. She's been cancer free now, I think 6 or 7 years,
Right.
you know, and her will was strong. She wanted to be there for her little boy. Her ex was not an option, not a good man, you know, so she wanted to be there. And I do feel like the work we did together, a lot of that was really important. That and that love, that healing, you know, really opening herself up to receive that and to feel worthy, even though maybe I didn't make a good decision over, you know, of my partner or, you know, whatever it is that we need to forgive ourselves for, but really receiving that healing. I've seen so many quote unquote miraculous healings that to know they're not really miraculous. It's just, they're not the norm.
Yeah, it's beautiful though. I mean, what you're doing,
Thank
like
you.
it's absolutely amazing. And that story is really touching. I mean, I just couldn't imagine. So it's beautiful that you've helped her so much.
Yeah, and I love doing what I'm doing. I remember very clearly what it was like to be sick and in pain and thinking that was going to be the rest of my life. And I remember what it was felt like to be reborn, you know, really. And this whole process losing my mom, who was my best friend, was another opportunity for transformation. Grief is the worst emotion. Don't wish it on anyone. It is horrendous to get over the death of a loved one. But at the same time, anything hard, I mean, my illness and losing my mom have been my two greatest transformations. So we can use those really hard times as times to go inward and do a lot of work and a lot of love. I gave myself more love this last year and a half than ever before because my mom gave that to me. And I had to learn how to give that to myself the way she gave it to me. Still not there yet, but I'm working on it, you know, and again, it's an opportunity for growth, or it's an opportunity to go into deep, dark depression and not allow ourselves that way out. And sometimes we need to go down to the bottom to be able to recognize that we want a little light in. We need a little light. And it's okay. Like just loving yourself no matter where you are on the journey is the most important.
Yeah. Well, what you did for your mom is you created a meditation. Is that something you offer to your clients or?
Yeah, well, if you join Love 365, it's part of the free offer. So the first week you get love through the chakras. So every day I talk about healing a chakra through love, a little exercise. And then the last day you receive that meditation where I have a music of the plants machine, which is a machine you hook up to a plant and through its energy it plays music. So it's my mom's plant. It's the only plant of mine that always consistently plays. Some will play sometimes, some, you know, others, but this one plays all the time. So I hooked it up to that and led the meditation of the journey through the chakras.
That's beautiful. It's like a way to remember. And it's almost like you said, none of the other plants may not play. So it's like she's still with you.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is really beautiful. It
Yeah.
is really beautiful.
Well, that's absolutely amazing. Well, we are coming toward the end of the podcast. And I have a game. It's called Shenanigans Truth or Dare. I gave you a list of some truths and dares ahead of time. Would you like to choose a truth or a dare?
You choose.
Okay. Okay. I'll say truth. What are you most proud of about yourself?
That I have not healed, but have really transformed this grief from my mom. That she was my best friend. I talked to her every day, sometimes twice, 3 times a day, that I have learned to live without her in my life in the physical realm and still have this passion to live and to help others. She was unconditional love, so that helps a lot too. You know, just knowing that I'm kind of the more I step forward too, the more I'm kind of still bringing her forward.
Yeah, I'm sorry about the loss. I know nothing anyone can say ever makes it feel better. I
Thank
know
you.
that. Um, from my grandmother died, and after she died, I had dreams. Like, have you ever had a dream about
I've
her?
had dreams and I've had a visitation.
I
There,
feel okay. Yeah, I feel like mine was more of a visitation.
yeah.
Like it freaked me out. I woke up and it's like my heart was racing, and I was like, oh my gosh, like were you, I mean, you're into, all this healing and
Oh, it still blows my mind every time. I
okay.
mean, anytime I even have like a minute spiritual experience, it blows my mind. So, I am in awe each time. Absolutely. I don't think that ever gets old, like, or you take it, I can't imagine ever taking it for granted. And when my mom came through, it was really pretty profound because she thanked me for the time I cared for her and
Mm,
said what a good job I did taking care of her. And, that did just fill my heart. And, I've seen her a lot in dreams, but that was different.
mhm. I didn't used to believe in this, but it's
Hmm.
almost like they want you to know, like, you're
They're
okay. You're
here.
doing okay. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sorry
Yeah.
about your grandma. I mean, there is nothing like grief. It is really challenging, but it is beautiful to know. I know my mom's always with me. Do I feel her all the time? No. Do I miss her a lot? Yes, but it is that it is comforting to know they
Yeah.
never really leave. They're not gone forever. And that someday we will see them again too.
Yeah, that's true. And it doesn't matter how many years, like this, she died, I think 3 or 4 years ago, but I
Mhm.
think, yeah, 4 years ago, but it still feels like, yesterday. So
Yeah.
yeah, just got to remind myself of the comforting times and things like that. It definitely helps.
Yeah, and I will have clients sometimes bring in a very vivid memory of a loved one that's passed and just sit with it and feel that love. And I do feel like when you're bringing in that love, they're coming in with that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, to remind yourself of
Yeah.
that feeling. Yeah. Well, thank you, Jenny. You are just lovely, and I love the work that you're doing to heal people because it does wonders to change your mindset and to just work on healing. I love your book. I think, like I said, it's a resource that I will definitely go back to in the future at any time I need it. But it's definitely helpful. The tips are very helpful. I'm like taking notes and writing things down to remember.
Thank you.
So you're
Thank you,
doing a
Angel.
wonderful
You
job.
and you just glow, love.
Oh,
So I,
thank
feel
you.
very grateful to have been able to talk with you, and you're so easy to talk with.
Oh, thank you so much. You're so sweet. Well, thank you for coming on, and you have a good day.
You too.
Thank
Keep in
you.
touch.
I will.
Much love.
Bye bye.
Bye.